Good afternoon. It's Sunday, February 7th. I'm Ariel O'Sullivan, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. We open with a stabbing attack at a bus stop in Ashkelon this morning. Police say that they are treating the incident in which a 20-year-old soldier was stabbed in his upper body as a suspected terror attack, but have not ruled out criminal motives. Paramedics treated the soldier, whose condition was listed as good, and transferred him to the Barzilai hospital. Civilians and a soldier pursued the assailant, a foreign national from Sudan who attempted to flee the area. They shot and mortally wounded him, and he died a few hours later. The knife used in the attack was found nearby. Meanwhile, the manhunt for a suspect who stabbed a Jewish grandmother in the Bedouin town of Rahat continues, with roadblocks set up around the town and a large police presence deployed in the area. Shulamit Ganon of Kibbutz Mishmar HaNegev, who suffered a stab wound near her ear, was released from hospital today. She told reporters she was shopping with her family in the local market yesterday afternoon when she was attacked. She said she felt something sharp hit her ear and fell to the ground, not realizing she had been stabbed. Eyewitnesses said an Arab youth stabbed her before fleeing the scene. Officials do not rule out the possibility that the suspect could be a Palestinian in Israel illegally. Local store owners in Rahat condemned the attack. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed Israel will bring to justice those responsible for setting fire to Torah scrolls in a makeshift synagogue in Gush Etzion's Givat Sorek near the community of Karmei Sur overnight Saturday. The small prayer tent, which housed the Torah scrolls, overlooks the site where the bodies of the three Israeli teens, Eyal Yifrach, Gilad Shaul, and Naftali Frenkel, were found after they were abducted and murdered by terrorists in June 2014. Police said footprints led to the nearby Palestinian town of Khalkhul. President Reuven Rivlin called the sight of the burned scrolls heart-wrenching. Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon said the images of the burned scrolls were horrific. Those who educate to hate Jews are responsible for this detestable act. He said, adding the security establishment will put its hands on the arsonists and bring them to justice. The Nazareth Magistrates Court today slapped Joint Arab List MK Hanin Zouabi with a 6-month suspended jail sentence for insulting a public official. This as part of a plea bargain agreement in which, in return, she dropped all the main charges of incitement. Zouabi was also given a 3,000 shekel fine for verbally attacking Arab police officers outside the courtroom during the July 2014 incident. According to the prosecution, Zouabi had called Israeli Arab police officers guarding the Nazareth courts traitors and told the crowd of protesters to spit in their face. Zouabi had apologized for the affair, and her parliamentary immunity was lifted with the approval of former Attorney General Yehuda Weinstein. A suspended jail term means that if she repeats the crime, she will automatically be imprisoned without trial. In related news, controversy continues over last week's meeting between Arab MKs and the families of Palestinian terrorists killed by Israeli security forces while they were carrying out attacks. Speaking at the start of today's cabinet meeting, the Prime Minister once again blasted the visit, saying that MKs who console the relatives of terrorists who murdered Israelis are not worthy of serving in the Knesset. Netanyahu asked Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit, as well as Knesset Speaker Yuli Edelstein, in charge of the Parliament's Ethics Committee, to examine possible legal measures that can be used against the legislators. Thursday's visit sparked immediate public outcry from across the political spectrum, with many saying their actions constitute support for terror. The Ramallah meeting was reportedly held at the request of family members seeking the MK's help in pressuring relevant authorities to return the bodies of their loved ones, whom they referred to as martyrs. Palestinian sources said the MK stood a moment of silence in honor of the terrorists. The army has lifted the closure imposed on the West Bank town of Kabatia, the hometown of the three terrorists who murdered 19-year-old border policewoman Hadar Cohen and injured another in a stabbing attack and shooting outside the old city's Damascus Gate last Wednesday. All three terrorists were shot dead by security forces. Following the attack, the security forces arrested 5 Palestinian suspects for questioning to learn whether they assisted the terrorists. Israel returned the terrorists' bodies to their families on Friday, and hundreds attended their funerals in Kabatia that night. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has ordered the flooding of a number of Hamas tunnels in the Gaza Strip at Israel's request. This according to Energy Minister Yuval Steinitz, who described the security cooperation between the two countries as better than ever. Overnight Friday, Egypt reportedly flooded 10 Hamas tunnels using pipes that pumped water from the Mediterranean Sea. Speaking in Beersheba yesterday, Steinitz said Israel does not seek another round of fighting in Gaza and is making tremendous efforts to deal with the tunnel threat. The IDF announced today that Israel and the United States will hold a joint military exercise later this month. The drill, dubbed Juniper Cobra, is expected to include a joint missile defense exercise simulating response to incoming ballistic missiles. The exercise takes place every 2 years and is meant to practice the interoperability between the Israeli and U.S. militaries to coordinate tactical defense strategies. Senior U.S. officers from the U.S. European Command are expected to participate in the drill, which is considered to be extremely significant by the Air Force and the country's aerial defense system. Relations between Israel and the U.S. Jewry can be strengthened by increasing efforts to reach out to young, unaffiliated American Jews. This according to Malcolm Hoenlein, the executive vice chairman of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations. Hoenlein also spoke about Israel's role in the U.S. presidential elections.
Foreign affairs has not been a primary focus. It has been raised in some of the debates, but Israel is not a subject of difference. All of the candidates have put forward pro-Israel positions. Some have long histories of being very pro-Israel, very supportive, and I think that none of the candidates today would express an anti-Israel point of view.
Well, you can't really be anti-Israel and be elected president, can you?
Well, you never know what the real views are until they're in office and get to see what they do, because they never love us in January the way they do in November. But I agree with that. The American people would not tolerate it. 3/4 of the American people today stand by Israel, support Israel, want the association, want the President of the United States to be a strong advocate for Israel. So I think your comment is right, that people look at some of the tensions, some of the glitches that occur with every president, and not just this one. You know, even with Reagan, that people look at. We had Bitburg, you had the AWACS fight, you had with every president differences of view, which is going to be natural in such a close and intense and significant relationship. And I think every president has to look at the U.S.-Israel relationship as a key asset of the United States, not just of Israel.
Come, you have your finger on the pulse of U.S. Jewry. How can you stem this tide of American Jews who are increasingly don't identify with Israel, particularly after some seemingly anti-democratic bills by current government ministers?
Well, first of all, most Americans aren't engaged, Jews are not engaged in the minutiae of what legislation or not. That plays out at a more elite level, a higher level. It's a matter of concern. People often respond to things out of ignorance or out of passion or compassion or a particular point of view, and sometimes out of their concerns because they come with a perspective. But we always have to look at it in the context of what's going on here. We can't judge everything just by American standards. We have to understand and help sensitize and educate people here, government officials, others, about what the implications, how things are viewed on the other side. It's not enough that you're right. You have to also be seen as right. And that's true in terms of our actions, in terms of the policies, and again, and legislation that's adopted here. We always have to think about how do you play it, how do you present it so people understand what's really at the core. I think that most American Jews remain committed to Israel. Is there alienation? Is there indifference? Yes, but it's true across the board. People are not concerned. Young people about foreign affairs, they're not concerned about history. They don't get into the issues in depth. And this is the great challenge of our time, is the apathy and indifference. It's been true throughout history. Those are the challenges you can't just dismiss and overcome. You have to address, and that means education, it means investment, it means sensitizing, it means using the new media and the old media, it means bolstering the broadcast from Israel, it means and our Hasbara efforts. It has to be a comprehensive look at how we do things, what we say, what we do, and how do people understand it. And we cannot write off any segment of the population, and nor take any segment for granted.
Finally, I know that you meet with Israeli leaders. Can you maybe share with us a little bit of their concern about where U.S. Jewry is going in its relationship with Israel? What are they asking from you?
Well, they're very concerned about BDS, and they see the rise of anti-Semitism in the United States as is in Europe, not to the same degree, but 75% of American Jewish students say that they witnessed or experienced anti-Semitism on a campus. That's an alarming figure. I think that they are concerned about disaffection and recognize that this is a great asset of Israel, is the diaspora and our political involvements in America and in other democratic countries. I think that they want to see how bridges can be built. It has to be a two-way bridge, meaning bringing more people here, and we have programs bringing all sorts of influentials from every sector of American society. We are working on a wide variety of programs, and I have to say this government is very interested, very committed to it. I hope there'll be more coordination in the efforts and see to it that we unify everything so that there isn't duplication, but applying the resources in the most effective way.
Welcome online. Thanks again for joining IBA News.
You're welcome.
Following a quick recovery, former President Shimon Peres joined a group of leaders from around the world and sent the people of China greetings as they're getting ready to celebrate their new year, the Year of the Monkey, which will be marked tomorrow.
Xin Ha. Really a Happy New Year to the people of China, to all of them.
It's Sunday, and as the week gets off to a new start, here are 5 good things that may brighten up your day, put a smile on your face, or just make you feel a bit proud. A new advertising campaign promoting Israeli inventions has been launched. Dubbed Israel is on it, the project's first ad appeared in the New York Times, this time featuring Israeli innovation in water desalination and water recycling. A new Knesset bill recognizes paramedical degrees obtained abroad with the hopes of making life for new immigrants a bit easier. From now on, professionals, including nutritionists, physical and operational therapists who were certified overseas in a country which did not require academic degrees, can convert their qualifications in Israel without having to go back to school. Despite talk of a growing boycott, the European Union has confirmed growing strong economic ties with Israel. Up to 150 million euros are invested in local research and development. The figures were personally submitted to the head of the Federation of Israeli Chambers of Commerce by no less than the EU ambassador to Israel. Bruce Springsteen fans, please take note, the boss is slated to make his debut performance in the Holy Land at the end of July. Although not officially confirmed, the venue has been booked. Rumors are close to being validated that the legendary rocker will leave us dancing in the dark this summer. And finally, you don't have to be a nature lover to notice them. Beautiful almond trees are blooming across the country, from the center to the north, both in large commercial groves or scattered throughout the many hills and valleys. You just can't miss them. Taking a look at local finance, and with no currency trading on Sundays, the shekel remains the same, while share prices on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange started off their week in the minus column. Here's a look at the mid-afternoon numbers. Looking at the weather, it will remain partly cloudy and the rain will continue, but it's expected to end tomorrow night. Here are the forecasted highs and lows at home and abroad for the next 24 hours. That's our broadcast of IBA News for today. Please join us again tomorrow when Laura Cornfield will be here to bring you the latest breaking news from Israel. I'm Aryeh O'Sullivan, wishing you a good evening, a shalom from Jerusalem, and we leave you with this lovely footage of the almond trees in their full glory.